The Atlanta Braves drop yet another game, losing to the Tampa Bay Rays 6-3. Let's break down a disappointing loss on the Braves Postcast.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, doing hopefully the last one of these solo for a while. Jake Mastriani, host of Locked On Braves, should be back tomorrow to the Postcast. And we're here to break down yet another Braves loss. They still don't have back-to-back wins on the season. This one 6-3 to the Tampa Bay Rays. And I put the question in the chat right as we started the live stream. Is this going to be on the pitching staff, on Bryce Elder specifically, or is this going to be on the offense? So let's talk about both, right? And Bryce Elder obviously took the loss in this one. This was disappointing, I would say, from Bryce Elder, and it didn't look like it was that bad at first. But in the sixth inning, he gives up 2 more runs. He ends up getting tagged for multiple home runs in this one. 6 innings pitched, 9 hits, 5 runs, no walks to 4 strikeouts. But again, allows the 2 home runs. Danny Jansen gets one earlier in the game. That pushes the lead out to a 3-1 lead for the Rays. But then the 6th inning is where things just really completely fall apart for Bryce Elder. And the hard part here on things falling apart for Bryce Elder is that 6th inning happened with 2 outs. He gets Junior Caminero out on strikes. He gets Jonathan Aranda out on strikes. And then after that, solo home run to Christopher Morel, a single to right by Cameron Misner, who then steals second base. We're going to get to the stolen bases. We got to talk about this. And then Danny Jansen singles to center, scoring Misner from second. Misner's a fast player. I watched him with the Rays, or with the Montgomery Biscuits, back when I used to call their games. And the issue here for Elder, and I put this on social media, I'm on X at Crosby Baseball, is Bryce Elder, we all know, every single one of you, we know Bryce Elder's going to get got by somebody, right? He faced the Dodgers. They tagged him for 2 home runs. One was a 2-run shot. One was a solo shot. The trick for Bryce Elder, we know opponents are going to get theirs. He has to make sure that when that mistake happens, when he gives up that home run, it's not with guys on base, right? And we saw that, the Danny Jansen home run. There's a runner on base. It's a 2-run shot. And the hard part about this, the worst thing about the Bryce Elder 6th inning, I guess there's 2. The first thing that's bad is Atlanta likely does not try to push him to take a 6th inning, if not for the fact that they went so deep into the bullpen last night for the extra innings game. Losing Schwellenbach because of the rain delay, having to throw so many arms, including Raisel Iglesias for a 3rd straight day. Because of that, they tried to push Elder and get 1 more inning out of him than really they should have, right? Getting back around in the lineup again just, was a bad idea. He should have been a 5 and dive situation here, right? But also, I would encourage you to go back and look at that Christopher Morel home run. It was a changeup below the zone. I went into StatCast and I looked. Last season, there was 1,756 changeups thrown to a right-hand hitter in attack zone 17 down there, that low and inside corner. And exactly 1 of them was hit for a home run all of last season. And then Bryce Elder gets tagged for 1 tonight. So those folks who listen to my other show, You're used to hearing this. Two things can be true at once, right? Bryce Elder was not good enough tonight. That wasn't a bad pitch, but the offense to me feels like a bigger deal. And we're going to get to them. We're going to cover that after the break. Zach Thompson comes up and pitches. We see Pierce Johnson finally. Pierce Johnson hasn't been a guy that feels like he's been used a lot. But ultimately, this loss goes on Bryce Elder. You know, statistically, he takes the loss. And the issue with this is you really should have better options for your 6th, 5th starter than Bryce Elder, right? But at the same time, how much can we reasonably expect from this guy? 5 innings is not good. 5 runs is not good enough. If Bryce Elder had allowed 4 runs, the Braves still would have lost. That still would have been a loss because the offense didn't do enough. Before we get into the offense, though, I do want to talk about the catching. Drake Baldwin was behind the plate. He did have a throwing error on a stolen base attempt to second base. We did see Tampa Bay steal 3 bags. Atlanta catchers have allowed all but one. I believe it's 22 of 23 stolen bases this year. And Drake Baldwin has not been good enough in that regard, but so much of that goes back on the pitching staff, right? So much of that goes back on these starters not checking on their runners, not doing enough to hold their runners. I don't know if that's something that last season was really being pushed by Sal Fasano and or Travis d'Arnaud, both of who are now with the Angels. I don't know if that's something where Rick Kranitz was emphasizing that last year and is not emphasizing that now. But opposing teams are stealing bases at will on Atlanta. And you can dive into the numbers. We don't have time to do it today. You can dive into the numbers, and StatCast will tell you the likelihood that the league average catcher will catch any given stolen base attempt. Braves catchers don't have a shot on this. Braves catchers do not have they are hung out to dry because this pitching staff is not doing enough to hold runners. Again, I'm assuming that was a Sal Fasano thing and not a Rick Kranitz thing. But Atlanta's got to fix that. With Sean Murphy in the lineup for the Phillies series, the Phillies, they aren't a team that run a ton, but they weren't trying to run nearly as much as they normally do with Sean Murphy back there. So it's entirely possible that maybe Atlanta needs to go back to the original plan of play Sean Murphy 4 out of every 5 games and let a guy like James McCann come up and back up Sean Murphy while Drake Baldwin plays every day in Gwinnett. We'll see what happens there. In just a minute, let's get into this offense because there are a lot of things to continue to complain about and to point out are not good enough. We'll do that next, right here on the Braves Postcast. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands means you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. They also have expert support, industry-leading service. You will always talk to a real person when you call Supply House. So join the Trade Master program at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, promo code SH5 gets you 5% off your order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back to the Braves Postcast. Lindsay Crosby. Again, Jake Mastriani is back tomorrow. He is on a plane as we speak. The team was doing well when Jake was watching. As soon as Jake turned it off in the airport, things started going downhill. So we're blaming Jake for this. When he's back tomorrow, tell him in the comments this is his fault. The offense here's what's frustrating, right? You had the clutch hitting in extras yesterday to beat the Phillies, technically this morning. to beat the Phillies, right? The first inning, you looked like you were going to be able to give Taj Bradley just a bad day. He threw 31 pitches in the first inning, 2 hits allowed. He walked 2, and you scored a run. And ultimately, in retrospect, only getting the 1 run in the first inning was, again, retrospect, that was a problem because you needed as many runs as you could get. Michael Harris started off with the strikeout swinging. For those of you keeping, like, at least most of the pitches were in the strike zone this time, so that technically is improvement. Austin Riley single, Marcell Ozuna walk, Matt Olson RBI single, scores Riley from second. Ozzie Albies draws a walk, and then 2 straight strikeouts, Brian De La Cruz, Jared Kelenic. From that point on, Taj Bradley pitches 5 more innings and throws 62 total pitches. He threw 31 pitches in the first inning, and then he threw exactly double that number of pitches in the next 5. 3 hits, 4 strikeouts, no walks, no runs. So Atlanta's offense just not able to take advantage of the opportunities in a ballpark that has allowed a ton of runs and homers this year. This is a minor league ballpark, and it plays like a minor league ballpark. We saw Marcell Ozuna hit an impressive home run, but other than that, Braves hitters, I want to say Atlanta had, I think, 2 extra base hits. Albies got that other home run there, and then Drake Baldwin hit a double. But Atlanta's offense did not do enough here. And specifically, they did not do enough, again, with runners in scoring position. 1 for 7. That 1 hit was in the first inning. And from that point on, they did not have another hit with a runner in scoring position the rest of the game. They left 7 on base. I'm not starting to. We've been talking about this. But I am now believing there may not be a easy fix for this. And I know a lot of fans are already there. I am behind everybody. That's fine. I see a lot of you in the comments are also kind of there, right? You're also at that point where the offense has to be fixed, right? You have to do something. And I think the first thing you're going to see is you're going to see some changes in the outfield, right? Alex Verdugo is working his way back. You'll probably bring him in instead of Jared Kelenic. Brian De La Cruz, I don't believe he had a hit tonight. Yeah, he was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Going into this week, he had been looking, the approaches and everything were okay there. He just didn't have the statistical production off of it. Today, he has 3 strikeouts. Not a good day for the offense. I do want to also point out, and a couple people recognized this and saw this, but Orlando Arcia's defense is not as good as advertised. He was never a plus defender. Let's kind of understand that. He was never a plus defender. But he reliably made the routine plays and then struggled with anything that required having some significant range. And he would sometimes make some of the more difficult plays, but he was always reliably making the routine play. That is not the case right now. Orlando Arcia, we saw it. He was shaded towards second base a little bit and had a ball hit in the hole. I don't remember it being that hard, and he couldn't get to it, and it ends up in the outfield. Nick Allen probably gets to that ball. And I'm at the point, Orlando Arcia is batting .208, right? Nick Allen's not doing much better, but Nick Allen's a better defender. Nick Allen does give you more speed on the base paths. There's a lot of reasons why I understand why Atlanta's kind of stuck with the veteran, but you're at the point where some major changes need to happen. Nick Allen needs to be playing over Orlando Arcia. You need to be reevaluating your outfield, right? Your corner outfield positions have been tough. Honestly, Michael Harris is at the point where he probably needs a couple days or at least a day or two off to try to figure out and get a reset, right? Because right now, Marcell Ozuna is the offense. He's batting .317. He's got a 1.94 OPS. Had the home run today. He had the walk-off yesterday. Outside of him, there's not, I think the next best batting average is Austin Riley at 245. Brian De La Cruz at 235. And you're at the point where, obviously, something has to change. And you can't cut guys, right? You're not going to cut an Austin Riley. You're not going to cut a Matt Olson. You're not going to, you're not going to cut guys. Maybe bench some guys. Maybe give them a day off. Figure out something different because what they're doing is currently not working. And again, Bryce Elder was not good today. But had Bryce Elder been good, had he held them to 4 runs instead of being charged with 5 runs, they still wouldn't have won because the offense only scored 3. And more importantly, the offense had an opportunity in the first inning to really take it to Taj Bradley, and they struck out twice with the bases loaded. That's got to get better. Remember, game 2 is at a different time tomorrow, right? This game is at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. AJ Smith-Shawver versus Drew Rasmussen. I am a little bit concerned about what kind of depth you are going to get out of your starter tomorrow, simply because every single one of your starters outside of Spencer Schwellenbach has not given you great depth. We already know the bullpen needed a rest day after that marathon yesterday. Hopefully, you can get enough depth out of AJ Smith-Shawver, and hopefully, you don't try to push him too far like you tried to push Bryce Elder too far by asking him to then pitch the 6th and paid for it. This has been the Braves Postcast. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. Do us a favor, you're listening on audio. Subscribe to the audio feed, Locked On Sports Atlanta, Locked On Braves. Leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, whatever Google's using nowadays for their podcasts. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to both channels, Locked On Sports Atlanta and Locked On Braves. Hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live to talk about all of your favorite Atlanta sports teams. Until next time, this has been the Braves Postcast.